an ad now. Naona wameweka kitu inaitwa intro video. Tuko live. Let me send you the link.
Tume link iende kwa WhatsApp.
Ya hii internet yangu ilikuwa imeleta kasheshe.
No, it happens. Technology. But the good thing is that all you need to do is just restart. Ingekuwa a mechanical affair, it would have been built with spanners and screwdrivers and bolts covered in grease. But thanks to the power of restart and refresh. Perfect.
So we're back. We're back. We're online. We're live. We're here.
Episode 79. Man.
Episode 79.
So how has the week been?
The week has been good. The big thing out here in Rwanda, I don't know if it has hit the news out there, but we've had Marburg virus.
Yeah, I read about it a bit. Is the outbreak deadly? Because I had some casualties. I don't know how many figures, but how is the situation?
So far, about 11 people as of yesterday. I'm not sure what's the current status as of today, but the last I read, based on the latest statistics from the Ministry of Health, was 11. So, but they're doing a good job to manage it and ensure. I think they acted immediately when sort of news of the outbreak. I don't know if it's an outbreak or when they noticed its presence, and it seems like a very fatal disease, transferred through fluids. So they've been on it. I think they're doing quite a lot to contain it as much as possible. I saw the last time they said 5 people who were, I think, part of the contacts when they do contact tracing came out negative, which is good. So yeah, we are hoping they'll be able to contain it and it won't spread.
I think we are coming to a point where I don't know things like maintaining distance, where it may soon be turned into a way of life, because the rate at which you are going, because we had COVID, then we had now we have Marburg and whatnot. What was the name they used to give? That spacing of what? There's a word they used to do, maintaining space. This is what they use, certain phrase where you maintain a distance between people.
The social distancing. What is it?
Social distancing. Yeah, I think are we heading towards a situation whereby that thing may soon become norm, because with the spread of these diseases, and then we are told us that in fact they threatened there was a threat of another strain of COVID which had not were not really across the valley. But then I think some of these things are just meant to control human beings. They were sort of riding on it to create some element of control, because even in countries where there was no social distance, Tanzania, there was no social distancing. They were just okay. So, by the way, we made some excellent progress on the bike. We managed to transfer. There was some hiccups on fitting of the Robert certificate. Karibu sana. Shifting the brake paddle from the hand operated to foot operated, successfully done. Uh, Testing works very well. We have a fully functional bike. It's actually powered by a key. So now it's down to aesthetics because you know sometimes we look at what is in the market, and from our assessment, whatever is there, it looks like a minimum effort product. Like
Mhm.
not a lot has been invested in aesthetics. So we are working on a casing that is purely aesthetical that will give this, because this is something that is sold to human beings. It is human nature to go to something that is palatable to the eye. So the say building of the mold has begun today. The mold is normally shaped from a cardboard. So work began today. We'll check on progress on Monday, and then from now on, the next order of business will be stuff like cabs, and maybe getting it a registration and licensing, because our discussions with Eric were based on this. What if an investor comes in and he wants to ride the bike, he wants to enjoy the thrill of the bike as we have described it? Then we tell him the bike has no road permit. He'll be like, see, because there are people who are, we call them eccentric. They want to see after the PowerPoint slides and the very nice graphs and what they want to get the feel of the rubber in the road. You say this thing is powerful. Okay, I've seen the specs. Wonderful. I happen to be an avid rider. Can I test it on the road? Oh, we don't have this. Then why did you raise my hopes this way? So we are trying to cover every loophole available. I know situations whereby something as simple as documentation has collapsed a project. Okay, in paper it looks nice. It so happens the guy has to is like a rider by passion. So I want to push it to the maximum. See how big then oh what you are, what do I know? So in that way, deals just disappear into thin air. And by the time you maybe set up your documentation, he has found another investor, he has found another entrepreneur who was ready. So state of readiness is normally very important. Don't announce anything until you have your bases covered. As in, there's so
Mm.
much at stake. Yeah, so that's the situation as it is, and that's where we are. And now again, now that we are in the topic of building, I thought we were in a space where we had a product being actually categorized as trash. Did you get a whiff of that space?
Oh yes, I think I got to listen to the recording.
Hmm.
This is with regards to the Payless
Yes.
app.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's your take
Yeah, I
on it?
mean, I think that was quite unfortunate for someone who is in the business of building, is in tech, to be associated with maligning. I don't know if that's the right term, or sort of trashing another business, just so because you found. I think he was saying that he found the timing of a particular marketing campaign was not in line with this Gen Z movement. There has been this Gen Z movement for me, and now we are seeing what it is actually made of. Yes, it highlighted. I think at the onset, probably there was some real authentic agitations, if I may put it as such. But what it has become, I mean, all sort of the luminaries that have come out of it, we've seen the likes of Casmo and others. People are coming to see for who they really are, that many of them are just paid guns. They're just people that are out there with their own individual motives. And particularly when you hear people saying, no, this does not align with our movement. Who is we? Who is our movement? Who are you part of? What are you agitating? You're saying you're a leaderless, kind of a movement. So you're saying if you're leaderless, then that means you guys can go through. You don't have a direction, so you don't have a stand. So we can't associate you to one thing. So for someone to just raise and say that they are attacking a business that has got, people that rely on it, that's the livelihood for several people. There are families that depend on those businesses. So yeah, I found that to be very, very quite unfortunate.
Well, I think on many occasions I've mentioned my displeasure about some of the, if I'm to go to EVs, displeasure about some practices of some EV dealers, but I make sure I don't mention names because, as much as I may disagree with them, these are organizations that are functioning. As opposed to mine, which is still at, I don't know, seedling level. These are functioning, they are employees earning, and there are people using those products and benefiting from them. So they are only authorized bodies who have the right to say some of these things, maybe security services, tax collection agencies, Bureau of Standards. They can come a statement and say this company is like A, B, C, D. But for an individual to wake up one fine morning or one fine afternoon and categorize a commercial entity as trash, it really, and then to make matters worse, if we were dealing with, no disrespect to say a maize roaster, if it was being said by somebody roasting maize, it will just be huyo yuko zake tu. But this is someone who, from what has been presented to us, has some bit of a reputation in the business of building, and so is supposed to be aware of the challenges, the hardships, and the knockdowns someone goes through when building things. Then you just go ahead and smear trash over another business. It really points to the general mindset of this individual. And you're
Yeah,
actually, yeah, we are being courteous by not even mentioning them, because in this platform we do have a very powerful element of professional ethic. We just don't go. We can mention someone in good light. That we can do. You normally say something good or keep quiet. If there's something good to say, we'll keep quiet. If there's something horrible, we'll try to not just skim over, it, just go over, just be objective without mentioning names, because these are business entities. So it can be quite sad when, in this day and age, and you're dealing with someone who's not, this is a young person, so it's supposed to be, what do they call, upwardly professional, upward mobility in terms of being professional. These are the people, maybe they'll be running major corporations in tech, and you are expecting to be setting a foundation of professional etiquette. And you just and is it a reflection of who we are? Because I remember when I was doing my when I posted pictures of my the first iteration on Twitter, someone said, I think we had at that time we had a range of 60, no, range of 80 kilometers, and someone said, this is a useless thing. I know bikes with a range of 300 kilometers that you can ride from here to Kisumu. And it's like, there's no electric motorbike that is that you ride from Nairobi to Kisumu. I've traveled by public means. I've traveled by private means from Nairobi to Busia via Kisumu. I I don't think I bumped into anyone that was riding a normal. There were those huge touring bikes. That is okay, but a small motorcycle, Nairobi to assume that you'll even be endangering yourself. So there's a lot of ridiculous comments all over, which out of wisdom I opted not to engage in. Then I didn't know about these people's professions, but now we have an individual whose background, some technical background as is presented, we are aware of, and they would dare say such a thing. I would say it reflects negatively on our level of professionalism. No wonder we don't do a lot of building this part of the world.
Yeah, I think we, I guess we have that, what do they call it? Pulling
Crab mentality.
the crab, yeah, crabs in a bucket mentality, pulling each other down instead of building each other. So yeah, but there's a very insidious thing I'm seeing in Kenya. And actually, the thought that came into mind today, the fastest growing industry in Kenya, I would say, is the political space. It seems everyone is angling at how they can be part of it. Of course, to the point of how it will benefit them financially. Of course, there are officially the politicians that we know of, at whatever capacity they might be in. There are also those hangers on that are around them, or people that support that entire industry. Could be in the media space. I mean, you're seeing, of course, with the proliferation of social media and the internet across Kenya. I mean, many of those people are now emerging from those kind of spaces in social media. So they are social media sort of personalities. So at some point they are, positioning themselves to be part of that gravy train that is politics. Because in some way or the other, you're gaining because you're either a paid mercenary for one faction or the other, you're supporting in some form or the other. I bet, like that issue we are just speaking of somebody sort of smearing one business or the other. We know that there are people that do this. I mean, it's not unique to Kenya, it's not unique in our environment. There are people that do this. And it was a bit shameful to see this person because it's someone that we all both know. We would have expected it from any other person, but not him. And even for him to publicly say that, he was doing this because it was in support of what he's agitating for in terms of politics, that was just a cop out. This was a pure lie. He must have behind the scenes. If he wasn't paid, then he's a fool. At least he should have gained something out of it. But I bet, that's why I'm saying there are many of these personalities that you find on the internet. Never take them at their word. Never, sort of look at what their position
You
is.
see,
Most likely, they are very inauthentic kind of people. But we need, I think, as Kenya to figure out how to decentivize this political, because then we are pulling people away from, good, gainful kind of jobs into this thing we are calling the political industrial complex, if you might call it as such, in Kenya. So it's sad how it has become an industry in and of itself. And it's sad how we've all become too consumed by it. Every time discussing this and that, we are there trying to figure out. We have all become pundits. I mean, it's tiring. People need to be discussing. We should be talking about your venture into the EV sector. You should be talking about other things that are more beneficial. But politics, day in, day out, we eat, drink, sleep, politics. That's a big part of what we need to really change. For us as a move forward and to be more progressive. yes, just something, a side note that I've noticed as I observe all these things that have been happening.
Well, you see, and the issue of timing, I was asking myself. So during the those agitations, you mean there were no adverts on TV? Did businesses stop advertising? Advertisements were there. So what is so special about this particular? Then you should have castigated every commercial entity that was advertising. Adverts were running during prime time. You see an advert here. If you go on Facebook, there will be an advert appearing on my timeline on Twitter. As much as it's being the what was the
Yes.
agitation was being covered, but adverts were running. So why didn't he just castigate the entire business community from all the telecoms, the manufacturers, the transporters, what not, name them. But you focus on one entity, and then instead of, you see, you give an explanation that I did this because they were doing this at the wrong time. Why don't you didn't you make it clear in your presentation that you guys, this is a wrong time to air your stuff, what not? Instead, you are calling it rubbish. That's an insult. And that can land you in court. That is defamation. And
No, it's
I
not.
want,
I mean, and not kind of arrogance that you're asking a company about their time.
who are
I
you?
mean, do they consult you every time
Who
they
are
have to
you?
run a marketing campaign? As who? And
You're
that,
not
that
capable.
was exactly. I mean,
Was
if
there
you have a
any
shareholder
was
there,
there any was there any communication from, say, CCK, Communication Commission of Kenya, during the Mandamano time? Do not air adverts. Was there anything like that?
first
These are,
consult Mr. So and so
yeah.
before you run an advert.
You just
Like,
wake up one fine morning with a bucket of raw sewage and splash up at somebody's business. And in that company, I think it won't be a surprise if somebody's preparing a lawsuit, because what was happening on the comments, people were screenshotting their uninstall. People were uninstalling. I saw, I think, one or two, somebody uninstalling and then posting the screenshot of evidence having uninstalled the app. Now, look at, in this day and age of the cutthroat competition, an installation of an app, how much are you losing? You can't afford to lose. That's why even whenever you are installing an app, they will tell you, is there a problem? Those prompts that they throw at you, is there a problem that you can assist you with before you uninstall our app? And then even when you go and say, we are sad to see you go, but please make a point of coming back to us, give us feedback. So it tells you at a level of competition, losing your app, getting even a single an installation from one gadget, it's a next to a crisis. Now it's a crisis if it happens due to employee customer dissatisfaction. Now this one is happening because someone went and called your product trashy. I would take someone to court. Sorry,
and
Mushtaf.
sometimes it's good. I mean, I think it would also be good some of these things people take them to court. Ndio iwe funzo kwa hawa na wengine wao. So that somebody doesn't try this kind of a thing again. Yes, it's one thing, to call out a company for things like, not living up to their expectations, customer service, and all that kind of a thing.
And be factual
But
in
just,
that.
but just to run your mouth because you were not consulted on when they were running, or you felt that their marketing campaign was off. That's just ridiculous. Who are you, man? And
And then
so
you see,
yeah, anyway, that's definitely was really a bad show, and not for someone like that gentleman that.
and then the thing is this: uh, when you look at this, some of these situations we're looking at, look at now on the money aspect. These are private entities. They are not going to provide access to their financial records. Look at how much losses they could have faced because of that. Because this is a revenue driven entity. So if you do this, you are actually implying you may actually be forced to fork out some money to cater for these losses if the lawsuit is presented in a proper manner. So, okay, we normally hear these things from people we don't know, entities we don't know, but this one hits very close, and it makes you feel jittery about building something and telling someone about it. Hmm. This one has hit very close, and if there's anyone who's in the business of building, you now even become a bit. You sort of keep your cards next to your chest. You don't know where the next attack will come from. It's a
Yes.
bit unfortunate, and uh, I hope if he was remorseful or whatnot as he presented, I hope it was really remorse. And if it's not remorse, that means he's an assassin sent by other shadowy entities to do such things. So because even if you go public on an organization's customer service or whatnot, there's normally initial contact with their customer care team. There has to be some back and forth. Then you say, listen, you go public and say, listen, I've been talking to you. It's now 4 weeks. You've not solved my issue. That at least there's a stream of information proving that this guy has reached out to the company over and over. And still, even if you do that, you have no grounds for calling a company trash. Some Swahili word there. Because even if we have an altercation because some professional disagreement, then I use the word like stupid, you can end up in court. There is no justification for doing such things, especially at a certain level of professionalism that you have presented. Because we are not ranking people professionally, we are looking at them based on how they have presented themselves. So it's a bit of a sad day in the realm of building since this one has hit. You say bomu imeanguka karibu na kwako mpaka ushtuke because we are used to hearing demolitions in other areas. Then someone throws a missile next to your dwelling, lazima uwe macho, and you have to really query some people when you are building and they are next to you. You never know what somebody can send a picture. Sema Andrew really happy. Andrew is very useless. Sema, what's going on? So that's the situation. Have you been getting news of our political back and forth with the attempts to impeach someone?
Impeach our deputy president. Yeah,
Deputy
this is
president.
out. Yeah, I've seen this one is out again. You see, this is the of our. If it, I mean,
They
we
call
just
them
came off
political circus.
Mandamano.
The circus continues.
The circus just continues. It's from Mandamano now to this.
Hmm.
There was Mandamano. I think Adani came. I don't know if Adani is still in the limelight now. There's the deputy president impeachment. I think some of these things are distractions to us. That's why I'm saying we need to get to a point, and this really speaks to the leadership of our country, because really we have someone who is so steeped into politics that they have consumed the energy they have literally pushed out to the societies just all around politics, which is very destructive and not hard to see we are at this point of just being overconsumed. This is all distraction. I mean, if the DP needs to be impeached, it speaks not just to the DP, it speaks more so to the president. So this is a kind of state. That's what I'm saying. In Kenya now, what we've done is just created a whole industry around politics. Everyone wants to be there because that's where the money is. They kill all the industries. Now, the only surviving industry where you can make something seems to be more in the political space, and it's sad because that doesn't establish a strong economic foundation for our country. Should be talking about industries and stuff. That should be the bigger thing we should be pushing.
It's not even political industry. I call it the political gimmick industry. It's simply one gimmick after another because politics on its own is supposed to be conducive for the industry. Because politics will involve, let's say, we are now our philosophy is build or assemble. Then we have of the political class who have become very wealthy from import business. Now that's where political pressure can be applied in parliament. Hey, listen, we have members of the August House. Our philosophy is if you cannot build, assemble it. If you can't build it from scratch, assemble it. Then we have members of political class who are minting millions from importing some stuff here. So political pressure in that aspect is good because it is pushing the country in the right direction. But when you have this called chicken and egg circus, that in fact we can say the clowns have taken over the circus. There's no circus master. The clowns have taken over, like you can say the animals have taken over the zoo. They probably ate the zoo manager and the zookeeper. They've swallowed them. Now the animals are in charge of the zoo. The clowns are in charge of the circus. And who knows after this then probably after this noise, maybe just some machinations to keep people on the edge, and then they are going to sit down and say, oh, sasa Rift Valley na Murima zimeungana, sasa hakuna shida, and people come down. Just before you want to think steady, another circus pops out. I don't know. Ndege za KQ, Adani ameiba ndege mbili.
That's why, anytime I get caught up in those discussions, like even the Adani thing, I told you, one, I don't want to keep regurgitating sort of the common narrative that everyone is putting out there. The one that says, no, we should have a Kenyan company, no, this or that. Yeah. I don't know.
But you see,
probably
you look at
society we've got too much information that we want to involve us. I mean, the noise.
It's called information constipation.
Yeah.
And you are constipated with the wrong things because let's face it, during the previous regime, did you have any issues with the airport?
No, we never.
And I've been to JKIA. The only problem with JKIA, I think it's, I don't know, it doesn't have very good signage in terms of information. You can really get lost. I went there and I passed somewhere. Then I was wondering, where am I? Then I crossed somewhere. They did some checks. Then I got distracted. I was staring at some planes. Probably they were on that place. Planes were parked. I was admiring. Then I sort of wandered off. Then they said, okay, now that we've wandered off, kuja tena tukusearch tena. I'm like, what? See me, I was just here. I just went, no. You have to. I was like, hey, man. In fact, I experienced the same thing at Julius Nyerere International Airport. After I landed, I didn't have the line for Tanzania. I didn't know how to set it up. So I used the Wi-Fi to make a WhatsApp call. So I was told the person supposed to pick me is at this point. So what I did, I followed. There was a group of Caucasian tourists walikuwa mbele yangu. So in confidence, I just started walking after them. Kumbe it's a long corridor. Ikatan kuangalia mbele toilets. Kumbe wanaenda chooni bwana. I was like, fuck. So I had to go back and ask, njia kutoka ni wapi? It's not clear because if it's an exit, it should, because the for Julius Nyerere last time was there's a very huge like a door to a mall. It sort of slides open, and when it's closed, you won't know it's a door. It looks like a corridor. So I passed through the exit. I'm following people with the confidence, kumbe they are going to the loop. It's like, now that one end at chooni. So this common sense things, signage, nini, everywhere, these are what we need. And
Exactly.
some things look suspicious. How come an airport starts leaking in 2024? That's when the leakages began. Kwani kulikuwa na, I don't know, ilikuwa imeshikanishwa na sellotape. Then the sellotape wore off. Some things, I'm not an expert in construction, but there are some stories when you look at them, you start saying these guys are now measuring my stupidity. So I think it's part of the one charade after another, and I think it's so timed that we are now going to 2025. So probably there are a timetable of charades for 2026. Then boom, 2027, electioneering period. Then we now go crazy kabisa. And don't
Can
be
you
shocked.
imagine? We are still how many? You could say maybe 2 years, 2 and some change, almost 3 years. You can say to the election, and we are already this deep. So how will it be when we get closer?
Yeah, it's like, you see, it's like these people are like a collection of script writers concocting episode after episode. And don't be shocked if there's a timetable for 2025. They only need to get through 3/4 of 2026 and they are home. Charade up to Kifika 2026, like August, electioneering fever, political fever will be through the roof. So I don't know. Majority of the electorate are saying we don't want this guy, but the way Kenyans behave, remember we are the same people who voted for Moi. For how many times did we vote for Moi? We voted Moi
24
for
years.
Yeah. So again, I'm not as much as there's this emotional rhetoric. We don't want these guys winning. My suspicion that all they need to do is to make adjustments on the dollar, punguza bei ya unga, bei ya mafuta, bei ya ngano, and people start singing here. So I'm normally not very much. I don't put a lot of premium on Kenyan complaints. It's like it's like a Formula One car with very short gear ratios. Yani ina change very quickly from gear 1 to 6. It's just a matter of seconds. So I stand to be corrected, but we'll run this platform during 2027. Then you'll remember, unakumbuka 2024 tulisema nini? You look at the ratings, huyu jamaa anachukua hiki kitu tena bro. So that's who we are. So it's a very strange situation we are facing.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what to. Anyway, we'll see how things go.
you see how you normally say you cross the bridge when you get there. Um, I've it's on some interesting news on the value of competition. Now Safaricom all of a sudden wamepandwa na Roho Mtakatifu, they are now increasing the internet speed.
I saw they've been promoting. When I listen to Spice FM in the morning, I hear them promoting this all-in-one package. You pay 2,000 shillings a month, and you get I think 17 GB of data, X amount of SMSs, free WhatsApp, free X amount of calls. Yeah, I guess it's in response, and this is what competition is all about, for you to retain your space and your market share, then you have to respond to what your customers want. Yes, and Safaricom, for some reason, they have good service. Their internet, for sure, is very fast. But hiyo rate ambayo hiyo data inakula, it's not the same as what you find in.
And they'll all, when you call customer care, that is if you are able to get to them, they'll tell you some apps were updating. So what, boss? What is updating on my phone? Ni AutoCAD, what is in Windows? This is just an Android. Mine is a very cheap Android. In update, dini paka like 1 GB in a disappear. Am I running a movie? So I think what Starlink has done is wonderful, and they are even bringing Starlink. I think it's called Starlink Mini or something like that, a small one.
Yeah, there's a smaller version. There is Starlink Mini. I think it's already available in the market, if I'm not wrong.
Mm. Now they will if they want to sort of put the nail on the coffin, if they can come with a mobile version that can be fitted on a vehicle, it will be game shot.
I think that's actually the plan. They're
Yeah.
looking to get. Somebody was saying, I don't know where I read that, but they are sort of looking to get into the mobile business. But
Yeah.
it's
So
going to be
if it can
satellite
be,
based. Might not be GSM based, but it will be satellite based. Already, you saw I think I shared with you that solution that they already have in the US called direct to cell. And the way they are marketing it is kind of a backup. In the event, let's say a base station gets taken out by acts of God, it could be a weather situation, then connection will now fail over to the satellite connection. So if you can't reach your base station, you now start searching for the connection on the satellite. So I think the idea is to slowly improve on that technology, that the mobile devices that we'll be having will be sort of satellite based. I mean, we already have that with what do you call those phones? The Thuraya phones. You remember those Thuraya phones?
Those they
Yes.
came out in early 2000. Those satellite phones.
And they are damn expensive.
Very expensive. They are normally used. They are used on ships. He
Exactly.
was involved with an individual. He was working on a ship that on the entire vessel there were, I think, only two, and they are kept at the captains, and they will take turns in calling, like a schedule to call people, because it was modern ships, modern cargo ships. uh, there's a certain advanced level of automation that they don't have so many crew members. They may have just 12, 15 crew
Oh
members
wow.
running on
That
it. Cargo.
entire beast
This is
of
because it's let me just they are normally crewed by very few people, if I'm
okay.
not wrong. Let me see size of.
But yes, maybe to still to your point is, I mean, when you think about when mobile phones first came in,
Hmm.
it was only a handful of people that could afford them to buy
Yeah.
the device, to
Hmm.
subscribe to the service.
Hmm.
But now, I remember actually when they were first coming out in early 2000,
Hmm.
just right after high school.
Hmm.
Um, I remember my uncle saying And I mean, there was this running joke that used to say that because I think mobile phones actually first came in places like Uganda before they came into Kenya. I think they had liberalized their airways before they did. And the joke was Mama Mbogas in UG all have phones. And one of my uncle, I remember commenting, he couldn't understand why Mama Mboga needed phone because already at that point in time, we are all oriented to think, okay, one to have a phone is like a privilege. You have to be a rich family or something. To have it in your home, for example. I remember we used to have one of those in the house,
Dial
you know,
one.
the dial ones that you have to dial like this. Um, so they all thought in his mind he couldn't fathom. He always used to think that's a lie, that people are just making it up. But it's
I've just
because
checked it. Mhm.
he
He
couldn't
found it out of the world
understand.
that Mama Mboga could have a phone.
Yes, because he was looking at it from the point of view was coming from. And I think now with as technology progresses, I mean, we can't probably imagine that phones, um, satellite based, we can all have satellite based phones, we can afford them because it was seen to be, as you say, it's only used in very niche applications, in emergency situations. It's expensive. It's not yet democratic. But I think all these technologies, particularly used by places like military, GPS started from there. Now it's a consumer service, and I think we'll get there with satellite.
So I'm reading here large vessels have to have a minimum of 13 and 17 crew members. So it's not
What?
so
It's not so big. I mean,
13,
you're talking
17.
that thing is huge.
And
You
then
know, it's one of those cruise ships.
Musk have been maintaining 20 to 30, but the low 13 to 17 based on the level of automation on your vessel and what the vessel is carrying. A vessel that is stacking containers will have a different crew figure compared to, there are vessels which are called grain carriers, and they carry grain which is unpacked, yani zimemwagwa tu ndani. So when they get to a port, they use something called a vacuvator. A vacuvator is like a very huge vacuum that sort of just sucks out the grain and pours it into a huge vehicle. So with such levels of, some even have a good number of vessels. In fact, all vessels have their own. I know I've seen vessels which have their own cranes for loading and unloading. So we are even going to a point where we'll even have autonomous ships. There, we are looking at things like they were considering use of AI in aviation, whereby for long haul flights, you don't need two, but you need one. A captain, then assistant. So the second officer is an AI officer. So these are the things because when you throw in to an industry anything to do with reducing expense on stuff, they'll very much jump into it. Only that normally the what you call safety regulators tend to be a bit hesitant. They want these things to be tried and tested over and over because that's the value of regulations. Because in the absence of regulations, and you come in with your own AI, what airlines will jump on it very quickly. But it's the regulation will tell you, oh wait, let's assess these things. What if the AI fails and what not? So that is going on, and I think AI is here with us, and it's here in a very big way. And tasks or professions that have a high level of repeatability are already taking a hit. You remember when ATMs came in, so many tellers lost their jobs. Then we also lost aircraft They are called flight engineers. We lost them. Because the flight engineer would be seated behind the pilot, the two pilots, facing the wall. He'll be having some parameters that he would sort of adjust manually. They got replaced also. We also have aerial photographers. We used to take photographs from aeroplanes because those are people who specialize in that. We had drones which took over. So we are coming to a point where I know someone who made a lot of money from a song. I don't know. It was a song he made. It sold. Turned out to be he was not a musician. The song was created by AI. So
And you know, you are talking of ports. No, we're talking
mm,
about ships
mm,
and the automation. And yes, I can agree. I mean, it's not so much the size of the ship. It's really um, what level of automation that has occurred there. And
mm.
that reminded me, I think earlier this week also, there was a strike of ports in the US.
Yeah, because there were plans to automate the systems.
Yes,
So the workers said, we don't want to lose jobs. Let's create a mess and they are losing about $5 million a day or what? I
$5
think it's
billion a day.
$5 billion a day.
Yeah, but I
So
understand it ended. I think it ended yesterday.
okay, because some places
It
in
was-
China they are already. I think for the ports, it is an
mm,
upgrade from what's happening in some warehouses. Because I know warehouses for Amazon, some of them are fully auto. If you go to China, warehouse automation is at its peak. So if
mm,
you can automate a warehouse, you can also automate a port.
that's true.
So we have those autonomous crane systems that are monitored from far. And I would really be interested in the warehouse automation because, as our friend George NGA would say, we are who we are. Majority of industrial thefts occur due to collaboration between among people in the warehouses and security, and that's where the madness occurs. So, introducing automation play, if you have an entire warehouse and inventory system for motorbike spare parts that is run autonomously on a program, and you find a warehouse with nobody inside, maybe one technical supervisor, that's a plus for me. It's not, yes, uh, it's better than firing people, calling the security agencies. So automation is here to stay, mostly, especially AI driven automation. And ninio, kwani askari ameingia kwa nyumba? I can see.
I'm just with this light in ya simu
Whenever I
yenyewe.
see such kind of a light associated with the boys in the blue.
Okay. Anyway, I think yeah, it's true. I think
Mm,
it's inevitable. I think at least
mm,
automations also US. When you see this, when you start seeing these strikes, I'm sure
mm,
the people who run those ports, as
mm,
much as they have sort of come to some kind of a compromise,
mm.
there's no way they are gonna let up. And slowly by slowly, they're just gonna start introducing those automation because many of the other bigger ports across the world have gone the same way. And
Even
even for the
already, if
and you are talking about warehouses. I mean, I don't know if you
mm,
have seen some of the videos from uh, fulfillment centers from Amazon. Have you seen the
mm.
machines they have there?
Yeah, those robots for the warehouse robot system.
Yes.
In fact, what
So
happened, I really admired the aggression of Jeff Bezos. When this company approached him with the idea of sort of automating the warehouse, he didn't buy the robots. He bought the company itself. He said,
yes,
now I'm buying you. So you have stick with
Yes.
any person who wants to automate his system, you have to go through Amazon. So, and also if you go to Australia, there's this company called Rio Tinto. Rio Tinto are running autonomous trains,
Mm,
thousands
exactly.
of kilometers. They are running, although some is it last year or some
Even
one
trucks,
one
or the trucks,
no
they control them with joysticks.
trains.
Yeah, I've seen the trains also. Yeah,
Trains. They
it's
are
a
fully
mining
autonomous.
company. Yeah,
It's fully. Is that a normal GE locomotive with wagons of iron ore? That you program it, then it once you've set the parameters, it will give you an alarm. It's called a departure alarm, whereby it will tell you in this number of minutes the train will start moving. So you have to get out, lock it. Of course, in a destination, someone has the key. So you just stand aside, it will start hissing and doing all those things locomotives do. And it powers
yeah,
up and goes and covers thousands of kilometers on its own. Imagine reducing speeds on corners,
yeah.
killer kit, all on its own. So that's the situation you're looking at. So it's a good time to be alive for the creatives.
Yeah.
If you are
It seems like my
into
internet. I was down for a moment there.
Hmm.
My internet is about to die out or something.
So let's call it a day, an evening for today. Asante sana kwa Robert SFDC and Sharif Mustafa. Thank you for being with us. And kwani stima imepotea? You look like you are in Nyayo house.
Actually, Japotea, but
Yeah.
I've actually not turned it on. I think it's just because
Okay.
it just became dark.
Okay. So from Matiriva, can I say adios? And he's stuck.
Yeah.